Hi everybody, my name is Itzel Lopez and I'm going to talk about the WebQuest I just created. But before starting talking about my WebQuest, for me it's really important to let you know what a WebQuest is. A WebQuest is an internet-based research activity that tries to motivate students. One of the characteristics of a WebQuest is that students have to work in groups and in the classroom. By working in groups, they develop teamwork abilities. At the same time, they have to develop certain high-thinking skills or high-thinking characteristics such as analysis, synthesis, creativity, and criticism. It is also very important to mention that in a WebQuest activity, the teacher is in charge of limiting the type of information they have to gather from the internet. The teacher is in charge of specifying the type of information students need to develop the activity. A WebQuest is a very good way to motivate students to learn in the classroom. The idea of preparing a WebQuest class or a WebQuest activity is to ask or make students use their creativity and their understanding of a topic in order to solve a situation or to solve a problem. Now, I decided to use a literature course in order to create my WebQuest. Basically, the topic I'm using is fiction and non-fiction. That's the general topic I'm using for my WebQuest. But specifically, I'm talking about the differences between truth and reality that we can find in different types of readings in American literature. Okay, the first part of my WebQuest is the welcome section, and here I decided to introduce a very attractive picture. I'm going to change to the preview mode, sorry. And well, we have a very attractive picture. I use an animated GIF. And here I have the description of the web page, of the WebQuest. This space has been designed to analyze key literary elements such as plot, setting, characters, authors, perspective, and so on, and at the same time compare different literary works and styles. My WebQuest is designed for students at the college level. Okay, it could be the university or college level. It is basically focused on language arts, specifically literature. I also included some key terms or keywords that could be easily identified by anyone who's looking for information so they can get into my WebQuest. In the welcome page, I also included a video that is fiction versus non-fiction. So with this video, students can get previous knowledge on the differences between fiction and non-fiction. That is the general topic of the WebQuest, because the specific topic here is discussing about what is the difference between truth and reality. Now the video, I'm going to play the video just a little bit.
Hey, this is Sparkly Barkley here to teach you the difference between fiction and non-fiction. What is fiction? Well, when we talk about fiction, we are talking about a make-believe story.
So we continue here with the video, and the video describes briefly and concisely what fiction and non-fiction is. Then we move on to the next section of the WebQuest, that is introduction. Okay, here in introduction, well, I start by placing this image that is related to perception, that is a key point in this WebQuest. And we start the introduction by telling people some general ideas about the difference between reality and truth. These two concepts are going to be immersed in the two stories that we are going to analyze through this course. At the bottom, we have a resource that is basic literary terms, a diagnostic test that was created in Google Forms previously. So students have to take it, they have to complete this test in order to measure or assess what they already know about literature, specifically basic terms like plot, climax, resolutions, parts of the plot, and all of those elements related to short stories. So students have to click on the option that represents the correct answer for them, and then finally they send their answers to be corrected. Okay, let's go back to the WebQuest. Then that was an introduction. Then we have the next section that is called task. We start task with an attractive picture again, and then in task we're going to have the description of all of the activities students have to carry out. So it says here, during this WebQuest you will be expected to do the following. Then I divided task activities into, because we are going to examine two short stories. The first is called Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket, and it was written by Jack Finney. And the second one is The Interlopers, that was written by Saki. What they have to do in the first is this: research about Jack Finney and his work. What other Finney stories became popular? Discuss about how important it is a person's job in his or her life. Talk about the pros and cons of focusing on your job. Now, if you see, a WebQuest is mainly based on the web, on the net. So they are going to carry out a web search. Most of the information they are going to look for are found on the web. That is the idea of having a WebQuest. Now, I limited this search or this research by telling them what to look for. And what they have to look for are the main characteristics or details in the life of Jack Finney and his literary work. Well, then they have to discuss about the importance of a person's job in his life, his or her life, and then they read the story and take notes of each important detail in it. Then they have to use these details to complete the graphic organizer that I'm going to, or that I gave them to summarize the story. Then they have to complete the activities proposed in the link to the Padlet. There is a Padlet I'm going to show you. They have to open this link that takes them to a Padlet activity. This is the Padlet activity. If you see, the Padlet activity is about Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket. That is the first short story. And here they will have a video. They click on it and they are going to watch a video on YouTube that is like a summary of the contents of the Dead Man's Pocket. Then they have a preview of the vocabulary. They have to look for these vocabulary words, and they will have to give a definition and give an example of a sentence using the word. Then here we have some diagnostic or warm-up questions that are going to guide them when they read the story. And finally, I gave them like a general view of what fiction and non-fiction is. Going back to our WebQuest, let's see the second reading. In the second reading, they have to investigate about Saki's work. They have to prepare a PowerPoint slideshow to present the most relevant points in Saki's life and work. They have to discuss about different reasons why a person could have a feud with someone, because this is the key point of the reading, a feud between two neighbors. And they have to exchange experiences of previous feuds if they had any in their life. They have to read the story and take notes, have to explain historical background that led to the beginning of this feud among neighbors, because this information is found in the story, but they can also look for other references in the web. Well, the next step is that they will have to decide if they personally would have kept a feud with a neighbor for so long, prepare a cartoon strip. They also have to prepare a cartoon strip with the previous reading. They will have to use www.storyboard.com. That is a special web page used to create cartoon strips. And they will have to represent each story using this page, creating a cartoon strip. The final project that they are going to present is a PowerPoint focused on one of the two stories with sufficient research backing their ideas on plot structure, author's perspective and style, cause and effect setting, and so on. The PowerPoint will be presented to the class in a short presentation of at least 20 minutes, with equal participation of 5 minutes of each presentation time for each member of the group. Now, referring to the last story, that is the Interlopers by Saki, I created a blank space. Okay, a blank space is another tool that we can use to prepare any class, or if you want to present resources to students in a more creative way and more refreshing way, you can use it. The name of this page is www.test.teach or test.com, and it's a very nice way to present your information. So there you see I presented, even the file with the reading is there. I also have a file with a video about the story. I have a file with a video about Saki, the writer, and I have another page that contains an example of a cartoon about the story. We also have a quiz here that they will have to complete. If you see, if you open this, it will take us to a quiz, and there's also an audiobook for the story. So if they want to read and listen to the pronunciation of the words, you can also do it there. Okay, there are some other practices related to grammar in here that you can also use. Okay, the next section of this WebQuest is process. So in process, students are going to be guided on how they will work or how they will carry out this work. As you see, we begin again with a very attractive GIF, animated GIF, and this is what they will have to do in order to complete the WebQuest activities. They have to make groups of 3, distribute research topics among group partners before reading. One of the participants must take notes of the relevant details in the story being analyzed, prepare a storyboard on paper to establish the scenes you will include in your cartoon strip, and using your computer, create your cartoon strip with the website indicated and prepare a PowerPoint as indicated by the teacher. Present your findings orally. Now let's go to the next step. The next step is evaluation. Okay, so in evaluation, what I included here is the 2 rubrics for the main, let's say, the main result activity or the main outcome activity. Well, actually, there are 2 outcomes that I am expecting to get at the end. So I have a storyboard or multimedia rubric for the Interlopers, written by Saki. So this is a sample rubric that I will use to evaluate the two cartoon strips that they will have to create, because they have to create a cartoon strip for the Interlopers and a cartoon strip for Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket. So here you see if you can see, you see all of the rubrics and their description in each case. Then we have a second rubric. Let me see. No, I can only see. Okay, this is the one related to PowerPoint slideshow. In this PowerPoint slideshow, I will use this rubric to evaluate them. And here I also included a Quizlet, a link to Quizlet, so they can review the main concepts from each story. And I also have another Quizlet for the second story. And well, the last section of my WebQuest is the conclusion. In the conclusion, students are asked to join what they read, the two stories they read, and the main question from the beginning, that is, if truth and reality are the same, if they mean the same. So by reading the two selections that I provided, Contents of the Dead Man's Pocket and The Interlopers, they will realize that truth and reality are not the same. And each character in these two stories show with their actions and behavior that truth and reality are not the same for them. Okay, as you could see, working with WebQuest is a very useful tool, a very useful resource that teachers can use, because in that way students can solve daily problems. They can also go through material that could look to be tedious for them. For example, literature could be boring for some students, but if you use WebQuest and if you use this as a tool in order to let them discover the enjoyable things they can find in literature, this will be great for your students, and this will help you get better results as a teacher. Most of the time what you do in a WebQuest is just to propose a problem to be solved, or to ask them to perform a kind of activity or task that can be solved by getting information from the web. Sometimes our students spend a lot of time in the net working, but they don't really know how to use the information they find in the internet. So working with WebQuest can help students use the internet in a more effective way. Oh, thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for the opportunity of learning how to use the different tools, for example, ProProbs, and how to use Padlet, and how to create tutorials using Screenomatic. This was a good opportunity to join all of this knowledge of different apps and tools from the web and use it in one useful and effective resource or tool, that is the WebQuest. Thank you very much.